Let me introduce to you the small group training that we offer at PursueGOD.org, just in a nutshell. Our small group training is for small group leaders, leaders of small group teams, and potential small group leaders to help you develop small groups that really make disciples who make disciples. And here's what it is in a nutshell. Our small group training involves 3 conversations. Let's take a look at each one of those in turn. The first conversation is about the strategic role of small groups. And here we learn that really why groups are so important in individual lives and the life of the church and what kind of groups they really need to be. One thing is that we believe that small groups are really important to the individual Christian's life because they bridge the gap from truth to life. A Sunday sermon is great, but usually it's not enough. People can hear a sermon on Sunday and go home and never have an opportunity really to process it with anyone. In a small group, people learn and discover truth together and apply the truth together in their lives. But small groups are also important to the local church because actually they're a logistical necessity if you want people to really receive pastoral care. God never intended one person to do all the ministry. And what we learn is that small groups allow everyone in the church to receive care, not just from one overworked pastor, but from people who know them the best, people with different spiritual gifts. And then what we want to show you is that a certain kind of small group is what we're really going for. We're looking for small groups that are intentional about making disciples, not just teaching people biblical truth, not just enjoying warm relationships together, but actually helping people move forward as fully devoted followers of Jesus. And that means disciples who make disciples. And then for that to happen, small groups have to be led by committed leaders. And here we overview the leader's job description and some of the main things that the leader needs to understand in order to lead effectively. And those particulars we'll go on to in the next conversation. So conversation number 2 is about creating a healthy small group environment. And we see there are really 4 elements that we're driving at in the right kind of small group environment. The first one is we really want to help create groups that are invitational, groups that look outside themselves, that are outwardly focused, where people in the group care as much about those who aren't there as they do those who are there. And this needs to be modeled and trained and catalyzed by the small group leader. And then secondly, we're looking for groups that have an environment of discovering truth together. This is why we have conversations. We don't want there to be just one expert who's expounding on biblical knowledge. We want people to discover and learn the truth for themselves in engaging conversations with each other. And then part of the group environment is that the group needs to be a trusting place where people really trust the motives and intentions of others in the group and of the leader of the group so they can really begin to open up and become vulnerable and allow God to confront them and to change them in their lives. And then the fourth part of a healthy group environment is that a group will reproduce itself. What that means is that an existing group makes new small groups. And we spent a lot of emphasis in our training on how that happens and really why it happens, because a lot of groups will resist this. But what we discover is that we really want to make disciples who make disciples, that we have to have groups that reproduce themselves. That's the environment that we're driving for in small groups. And then the third conversation is about developing the people. And there's 3 ways that we want our leaders to learn how to develop people in small groups. We want them to develop people who care, where the group really does become a loving group where that pastoral care can take place. And then we want them to develop people by mentoring others and develop disciples who can mentor others themselves. We believe that a person becomes mature as a follower of Jesus, not only by trusting Jesus and honoring God, but by helping other people, especially helping other people pursue God. And so on our small group, we're not just trying to help people pursue God, but we want to equip them to help others. So mentoring is simply what we call making disciples. And so we want to train people that they can mentor other people as well. And then the third kind of people development is developing a team who can lead. We want to do everything as a team, and we want to develop future leaders of future small groups. And in our training, we go into more detail about how to do that and why that's so important. And so I want to encourage you to take a look at this, take a look at our small group team page, and encourage you to set up a training, take someone through it, go through it yourself, do it as a group. But that's small group training in a nutshell.